Hi everyone and welcome to Kavita TV. Today we have a lovely guest. Her name is Liz. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you.
And we're going to be doing a live coaching session right here in front of you. And all I know about her is her question and a little bit about her background, but that's it. Everything that we're discovering today right here is kind of in real time. And as you're watching this, I want you to take away the nuggets that really resonate with you and are applicable to your love life. Liz, I'm excited to have you here. And what is your question?
So my question is, I work a non-traditional schedule and I'm having a really hard time finding someone who's okay with that. And I'm also having a hard time putting myself back out there because I'm afraid of being hurt because I'm a very open-hearted person and I've been hurt before.
Yeah. And so in terms of, I totally get that question. So it's kind of two-folded, which is one is your schedule doesn't feel like it lends to being able to date. So can you tell us a little bit about what your schedule looks like?
Sure. So I tend to work nights and weekends. I work most evenings from about 6 o'clock until 10 or 11, depending on the night. And then most on the weekends as well, from like noon until about 11.
Yeah.
A little shorter on Sundays. That means that a lot of those traditional dating hours, the kind of post-work happy hour, the coffee right after work, the dinner, that isn't really something that works for me unless it's like, oh, I have Sunday nights and Monday nights. Other than that, I have my days free, and I'm, looking for someone that can understand that because I am very passionate about what I do and I enjoy what I do. Yeah. So I'm not looking to change that.
Yeah, totally. And it sounds like, is it just been physically hard to get people into your schedule, literally?
That's part of it, and finding the places to meet them. I've tried online. Yeah. I think also for a really long time, I was really focused on my career. And so I spent a lot of time putting my energy into that and using that as a shield to not go out and meet people. And now that I am, I'm just having a hard time meeting them and figuring out when to bring up, if I do figure out how to get in the schedule, if I don't tell them right up front that I have this schedule, when do I bring that up? When do I let them know these things?
Okay, got it. So we'll totally handle that. And I loved that. I love this question because I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that have these tough schedules. And how are we kind of relating to our schedules that maybe mindset wise we can shift to see that other people are really open to our schedules and what availability we have. So we'll get into that in just a moment. And then the second piece of your question is really about feeling like you're a really open-hearted, loving person, right? And not wanting to get hurt again. Can you tell me a little bit about where that's coming from?
I just kind of feel like I have a lot of love in general. Like I kind of joke that I fall in love with pretty much everyone I have in my life in some way.
Yeah.
And so I would meet men and we'd kind of start to date, and I think my heart would be ready to open to them really quickly, whereas they wouldn't necessarily want that. Because it's a lot, I think, if you're not ready to feel that from someone.
Yeah, and so is there a way that they react, or is there something that you do and then they react?
I think it's generally they kind of sense that and then back away. And then I get a lot of like, oh, I'm not ready for this, I'm not in the right place, and then I feel hurt, and then it also turns into that kind of cycle of, oh, it's me, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Why are they running away? You know, all of that kind of
stuff.
like
what is it about me?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I totally understand. So I totally want to answer this open-hearted part of your question because I think it's going to inform the other question around your schedule. So what is your perception of your parents' relationship?
It's changed a lot in the past kind of year. My parents, I didn't always understand why they were together. Like they seemed like such an odd pairing. My mother they're both incredibly intelligent, so they sort of exist on a slightly different plane of reality.
Yeah.
And my mother is even more intelligent than my father. So I couldn't understand how they related. It didn't make any sense. They fought. That's what all I could see was like the fighting and the weirdness and the conflict, and they were so different. And then this past year, I ended up in this weird situation, which as a grown-up you don't really get to experience, was going to somewhere where they were comfortable, that they brought me in, and I got to view how these other people viewed them, like my parents' relationship through the lens of them, and the way that they saw it was so different. There's always this love between the two of them, and there's an understanding of the way that they are and acceptance. But that's been a very recent realization.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of changed the way that I have viewed people in my life and viewed my friends' relationships too.
Yeah. How has it shifted that a bit?
It shifted because I think, I mean, you always have an idea, like, oh, my ideal mate is like this, and he's like this, and he has this quality and this quality, and realizing that the two of them work so well together, I think has kind of opened my eyes to the fact that maybe the person who's right for me is not what I think he is.
Yes, that's a good realization to have. Okay, that's great. And I know that you were saying, what is your relationship like with your mom versus your dad?
I think I've always been a daddy's girl. My mother and I have had a pretty tempestuous relationship that we've been working on.
Yeah.
We moved a lot as a child, and my mother was the reason why we moved, that she would get promotions, and then we would go as a family. And my father worked as well, but he was around more. And I held a lot of resentment that I didn't realize I was holding for a long time for those moves towards her.
Yeah.
And it really strained our relationship, and to the point of actual confrontation.
Yeah, definitely.
So now we're re-healing that.
Okay.
Creating that bond.
Got it. And who is is your dad the one that is really who's the one that also falls in love like you do often?
I'm gonna guess it's my dad.
It's your dad, right?
My dad is pretty kind of, he's much more outgoing than my mother. He's an introvert who's an extrovert.
Yeah.
Like he likes his alone time, but he likes to hear people's stories and likes to know what makes them tick.
Okay.
And he and I are very similar in that way.
That's great. Okay, so what's happening here is what I'm seeing a couple of different things because we kind of went into the mom dynamic, the dad dynamic, and their dynamic. So yeah, I think one piece is like seeing them and saying, I don't want anything to do with what they have. And what that starts to do in our love life is that we kind of grip onto specific qualities that we really desire, right? And then we're like, I'm not going, it feels like settling if you don't have all of that. Does that make sense? So what, do you know what one of your qualities or some of your qualities were that you're really looking for?
I mean, the qualities, I guess someone with a sense of humor has always been something that seemed important.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Respectful of other people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you feel like sometimes you have more than others, or you feel like it's just about the same?
I think the list has shrunk.
Yeah, over time.
Yeah. It used to be a lot longer and much more physically based, and now it's become much more emotional.
Yeah, which is very, very good. So you're headed in the right direction along all of those lines. But the reason why you had a really long list, and maybe some of it was more paper based, right? Like somebody on paper, is when we are resisting what our parents are, we try to create all of these ways or walls, I would call them, but they're in the form of qualities as a way to protect ourselves from having what they had.
Right.
You know? And so, yes, over time, it's good that you've like kind of reduced that and have learned and coming from more of an emotional space, which is really powerful. So that's good. Now, the piece with your mom, I think that's really important. And I'm glad that you guys are starting to heal your relationship, because what's happening is that you've said to yourself through your interactions with her that I'm not allowed to be emotional. And so when you're in these relationships or starting to date a man and you're on the first couple of dates and you get emotional in some way because, like you said, you're such an open-hearted person, you make yourself wrong for that. And so then all of this stuff comes up for you in the moment after you've done that. And what happens is that you because you're so not okay with it yet fully, you're attracting in people that will also reflect that back to you. So they'll be like, oh, that's like too much, or I don't know if I can handle all that, or do you know what I'm saying? And it's actually not a function of him or men. It's a function of you feeling like it's not okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. What resonated with you? Because something hit, I feel like.
It was the kind of making yourself in one way and then going away from the situation and realizing you've made yourself in a different way. Like that felt, because I've had that experience on dates where I sat in a date and it felt, I think, in the moment to be a good date, but then I walked away and I was like, that wasn't me. Because I wasn't being true to my emotions, I think.
Yes, you weren't letting them shine because you feel like you've had multiple experiences where you did and that wasn't good, so you're holding all of that back now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's your beauty. It's like it's who you are, and it's super beautiful. And the right guy, when you're not ashamed of it, what starts to happen is you start to attract in the men that also can hold it for you. And if they can't, then you know he's not the one.
Right.
You know, it's a really clear indication. So the love work that I want to give you around this is with your mom. This is, you're gonna kind of go deep, but you're already starting to heal your relationship, is like saying to her that, you know, because I think what you feel is you don't feel like she sees you or understands you at your core, and that she'd like you to be somebody other than who you are.
That's very true.
Yeah. And so I want you to have the feeling of she gets me, even though I'm different than her in some ways. Because you are 50% your mom and 50% your dad in so many ways. But often we just start to relate to one person because that feels easier, like relate to dad, because we have relatable things and the relationship is easy, you know, but you're also a lot of your mom in you. And I'm sure you see that as well.
Yeah.
So what I would encourage you to do is have a deeper conversation with her, and tell me how hard this is for you, but a deeper conversation with her around saying like, Mom, you know, I know that I've always seen myself as being way more sensitive and open-hearted than sometimes I can feel you coming from that space, because you're so smart and there's a way that you can see things in other ways that I can't see. But do you understand who I am? And do you accept that? And are you proud of it? Because I think what happens often is that you don't want to hurt her, so you release your power with her and just let her do what she wants to do. And she doesn't know any better because she doesn't know that that's not helping you, because you're not saying anything. So she just goes on her way thinking that that's helpful, but it's not, and you're not communicating it, you know? So you can just say like, I'm not blaming you at all. I just really need to hear this for myself, because it would be really powerful for me to see that. And it wasn't because of something you directly did. It was my translation. It's what I chose. It's how I chose to see the situation. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Okay. So I would do that with her, because then that says, then you become a yes to your emotions. You know, because it's coming down to just being ashamed of them from when you were younger is what's happening. So as you let that shine more and you're in total acceptance, you will start attracting in men that can hold it for you. Now, the other question that you had, so I wanted to give you a nugget because I just want you to see that some of these things that are deeper are having you relate to your schedule in this way where you're kind of you're using your schedule to hide a little bit. I know that it's technically also a difficult schedule, so I mean, logistically, I get that. But I want you to relate to your schedule like you can make anything work. Okay? So I want you to shift your mindset to like, I can make anything work. And so let me just see like what that looks like and start engaging with men from a space of, I can make anything work. You know what I mean? And see what pockets of time start to open up for you. Like it could even be like a quick lunch break or coffee break or something like that you choose to do. Or maybe you choose to not take on a specific job or a specific something to give yourself space in your love life to date somebody that you're interested in. You know what I mean? But to relate to your schedule like I can make anything work is really powerful. And then what starts to open up is like, now you're not hiding behind your schedule. You can make anything work. You start to accept your emotions more from that mom space. And your love life will just start to look very different than what it looks like right now. So tell me, has anybody told you this before? Is this like new? Have you ever seen this for yourself?
New. The stuff with my mother especially.
Yeah.
You know, I guess you don't really see the pieces of the puzzle and put them together. But it makes total sense.
Yeah. Okay, great. So for all of you, I want you to go to KavitaJPatel.com and tell us how today's talk with Liz resonated with you. What parts did you feel exactly the same way as her? What did you realize about your own lifestyle and relationships with your parents or the way that you're approaching your love life? I'd love to hear all of what is coming up for you during this over at KavitaJPatel.com, and subscribe to this YouTube channel because I'll have more juicy videos just like this where we're live coaching women. So thank you for being here with us today, and I'll see you in the next episode of Kavita TV.